Switching up the way things usually are isn't always for the best. Hitman 2 on the PlayStation 2 proved to be my first experience with the franchise that would spawn a hefty helping of sequels ranging from games set to improve upon what came before it, to grandiose reboots or adjustments to make each game more accessible without foregoing the franchise's greatest strength: kill targets in almost any way the player sees fit. In an effort to adapt to gaming's changing consumer market, IO Interactive teamed with Square Enix to release 5 episodes month by month in 2016, before the complete Hitman package came together. While the release strategy wasn't for the best in the eyes of many, the game itself proved to be a fantastic offering, and left me excited for a sequel that would come out 2 years later under the WB banner, after being put in a position where the game seemed to be on the verge of cancellation. Unlike the old Hitman games where the simple premise of eliminate the target and move on to the next stage was the norm, the most recent versions of Hitman, including this offering, feature so much the player can take part in to make each mission as memorable as possible, mostly thanks to challenges. Each of the 6 maps available have a set of challenges that can be completed via certain situations, including story missions. Scenarios specific to each map, usually featuring protagonist Agent 47 dressing up as someone like a renowned tattoo artist, scheduled to meet with some infamous cartel leader. These challenges provide massive replayability and will take completionists dozens of hours to finish. There are also multiplayer modes, Sniper Assassin, Ghost Mode, and Contracts, for those who don't feel like just doing the standard missions, as well as other single-player offerings, Elusive Target, a timed worldwide event featuring a lone target players can kill to earn special in-game rewards, and Escalation, maps featuring up to 5 higher difficulty settings with each completion of a specific goal. To top it off, owners of the 2016 iteration of Hitman have the ability to download all the maps from the previous entry, boosted by the implementations from its sequel. After completing the main story maps and playing all the modes in 12 hours or so, there's still a lot of challenges left to discover, including those from the previous Hitman, that will definitely keep me coming back for a long time. Rather than stick with the episodic formula set in the 2016 iteration, Hitman 2 is a complete package from the onset, featuring 6 maps connected to a campaign that is ultimately forgettable until the final few cutscenes. Cutscenes that feature still CGI images where the camera pans in certain directions, as well as an extra extensive map for even more fun. But older Hitman games featured stories that weren't necessarily more than just ways to put protagonist Agent 47 in a particular area to kill a person or multiple people. So coming into a Hitman game with the intent of it being a narrative masterpiece is ignorant. The game's real story is usually connected to how well the player handles being as stealthy as possible, and then adapting to a situation gone wrong, especially when someone sees 47 pulling off a kill and his disguise is compromised, meaning the player must either escape the area without dying and or disable someone with the intent of pressing on with a new plan under a different identity. Or they can hide in some tall grass, or in a group of people who nonchalantly allow a stranger to stand in the middle of their circle. Agent 47 has a slew of weapons he can bring with him, including sniper rifles, thanks to the return of his briefcase, but utilizing items found in the world is usually the best way to go about completing a task, including poisoning a race car driver while posing as a doctor, or turning a militarized robot against its creator. Agent 47 gunning his way through an area is always an option, but the overall movement and gunplay doesn't make it the most useful or satisfying method. Melee combat boils down to a quick time event that too feels unfulfilling. The map selection in Hitman 2 is diverse and arguably better than a majority of the locales seen in the previous game, though the final map in the story leaves something to be desired. Moving around a map will provide story missions, which are specifically made for each map, and is usually a more detailed way to complete an assassination, while the game assists the player with waypoints. Story missions are a nice way to help players who don't want to be overwhelmed by all the options of completing a task. The picture-in-picture updates, such as an unconscious body being found, also helps keep a player on their toes, while helping them learn from their mistakes when going about replaying the stage. Added to the replayability of Hitman 2 is returning difficulty levels, with professional difficulty being akin to normal in relation to other games, while 2's master setting removes the restart function from the missions, while upping the AI's awareness and removing the guidance system. The aforementioned challenges also make replaying maps much more fun than compared to older Hitman games, where the player had to make their own extra fun with personal challenges or stipulations like finishing the campaign without switching disguises. Multiplayer in Hitman 2 is commendable, but flawed. Outside of the returning contracts and elusive target modes, with the prior being player-designed scenarios in the maps provided featuring different targets in comparison to the main campaign, as well as potential interesting optional requirements such as blowing up the target. Sniper Assassin mode can be done both alone and with a friend or a random fellow would-be assassin, featuring a slew of targets to gun down from a far distance without alerting anyone of the assassin's presence. Ghost mode is where it's at in regards to multiplayer action, as two players work in the same world, mostly independent of each other, in hopes of scoring 5 unnoticed kills before their opponent. Killing an innocent bystander will cause a player to lose a point, and no points are given for seeing target murders. Unfortunately for now, both Ghost Mode and Sniper Assassin are in their beta forms at the time of this review, featuring only one map per respective mode. Add that to the fact, with this being a niche game, finding a partner or opponent may take a while. Hitman 2 also has technical issues, especially when it comes to the AI. Sometimes enemies can be incredibly stupid or unusually hostile. While the game's frame rate and overall stability in regards to crashes and glitches are commendable, unexpected problems will arise from time to time, such as one mission where the communicating NPCs needed to progress the scenario saw one of the characters constantly walking away mid-sentence, extending the sequence for about 5 minutes. The game is also always online, featuring a leveling system that unlocks map-specific items and stash locations upon completing a section. But being always online means that if the game is having server issues or the player loses internet connectivity, it will boot the player back to the main menu, proving to be a big problem if someone is playing on master difficulty, considering the sole save slot can mean having to replay an entire mission or losing a tremendous amount of progress. Hitman 2 proves to be a much better version of the 2016 iteration, with more memorable maps and smartly designed story missions, multiplayer modes with the potential of being incredible once they move past the beta phase, and a base amount of stuff to do that will keep this game fresh for a long time. While this version of Hitman and its direct predecessor have some obvious limitations compared to the earlier games in the franchise, very few are as accessible or enjoyable as Hitman 2. The highly diverse maps, copious amount of options to complete a task both during the campaign and in online competition, and all the features from the previous game for players of Hitman 2016 makes this one of the most complete Hitman experiences ever. For fans of the 2016 version of Hitman, this is a no-brainer and worthy of a purchase. Those who enjoy stealth games built on improvisation will enjoy this as well. Hitman 2 has been a part of frequent sales since its release, and is a game worthy of a purchase at full price, but a sale makes this offering a better deal than the price of a home some high-end security guard is looking to purchase without being aware he could be blown up at any time, and no one will hear him scream.
nice looking safe in here, too. Any idea what the previous owner was using this for?
No idea. Maybe a mausoleum.
That's weird. But I think I can come up with some good uses for it. All right, I think I've seen enough. No, don't turn it!
That is now taken care of. Both targets are confirmed killed.